The largest poll of Americans in recent history, asking them why they do or don't want an electric car, has unveiled some kind of surprising results. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans, you're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Now guys, we do have a members section here on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description below, and part of that is that you get some of our videos that are not shown on the regular channel. So a poll was conducted by the Associated Press of, well, nearly 7,000 people, and it says most Americans are not sold on EVs. They say there's 3 reasons why that's the case. Now, honestly, I don't think these reasons are legitimate. One of them maybe is. The other 2 I think are just, well, okay. What I think is fossil fuels, internal combustion companies, legacy auto, they've successfully brainwashed Americans. I think that this poll pretty much proves that's the case. Now, despite government pushes, or the Biden administration supporting the EV transition, many Americans are hesitant to buy an EV, even though it makes so much sense right now, guys. I mean, you can get a $4,000 EV incentive to buy a used EV. You can buy good EVs now used for $15,000. It's just like an absolute no-brainer, in my opinion. That's really not mentioning the fact that now you can buy, say, a long-range Tesla Model Y for about $38,000 or $37,500 after the tax credit, that has more than 300 miles of range, and it's a seriously good car for the money. I mean, it's not just the Model Y. There's many cars now in that price bracket which are cheaper, really, than their equivalent gasoline-powered vehicles. Anyhow, apparently, rural areas are saying they don't have enough chargers, so cities are showing high interest in EVs. Now, this may be the case, but at the same time, remember the Biden administration have approved, I believe, about $10 billion for EV fast chargers. Some of those have been built so far, but there's still a lot to come. A new poll has revealed that most Americans don't want to buy an electric car. As expected, concerns about range anxiety are a big factor. However, apparently cost is the biggest consideration. They're saying they're too expensive. Guys, it's been reported here many times now. EVs, if you factor in the EV incentive, which most Americans, I believe about 70% of Americans qualify for, EVs are actually, in many cases, cheaper. They're at price parity. They've hit price parity. I don't know why we aren't talking about this more. We should be. Despite the billions of dollars being pumped into the industry, it's true that a factor of whatever's been pumped into the EV industry, we know it's quite a bit. It's nothing in comparison to what's been pumped into internal combustion. It's literally a fraction of the number that the US government have invested into internal combustion factories and engines and General Motors and Ford and Chrysler or you name it. There's literally been at least 20 times more invested into internal combustion. So a lot of Americans are saying it's not fair. EVs should not be incentivized, but they don't recognize the fact that actually internal combustion has been incentivized for decades. Anyhow, if the US is to meet the new Environmental Protection Agency mandate of 56% of new vehicle sales to be electric by 2032, then car manufacturers need to make more EVs, and of course Americans will have to buy more EVs. Now, to be fair on this, General Motors CEO, Mary Barra, she has claimed that the shift to EVs will take decades. Now, a lot of experts say she's wrong, but, Mary, obviously, she's pretty determined that she's correct. Now, many of the people surveyed said that not living near a charger was a major barrier to purchasing an EV. Now, of course, in a regional area, you'd more than likely have a house, so you'd be plugging your EV in at home. Anyhow, 50% of those living in rural areas reported they don't have a charger near them, and that's one of the reasons they don't want to buy an EV. The figure drops to 40% for urban dwellers. Now, let's be honest here, guys, if you're the 40% of urban dwellers who say there's no chargers near you, it's probably because you just don't know about them. That is a problem, by the way. Awareness of chargers that are near people is an issue. Tesla's app, you can easily find out where chargers are near you, but if it's not a Tesla charger, it can sometimes be challenging to know where these actual charging locations are. The poll conducted by the Associated Press Center for Public Affairs and Research and the Energy Policy Institute of the University of Chicago involved 6,300 adults, and it mirrored results from the previous year. Only 13% of US adults reported owning or leasing a gas hybrid vehicle, while a mere 9% do have an EV. Caleb Judd of Cincinnati exemplifies the cautious consumer, contemplating an EV but leaning towards a plug-in hybrid, even though not many of those are available. The thought of getting stuck in my driveway with an EV that won't run is worrisome, and I know it wouldn't be an issue with a plug-in hybrid, he said, referencing concerns about EVs just breaking down in cold weather. So the media have successfully brainwashed Americans into thinking that if they plug their EV in and they live in a city where it's cold, in winter it's not going to start. Now that is a completely false story that the media have concocted in America. Very disappointing to see that they have successfully brainwashed Americans into believing that if you live somewhere cold in America, your EV is not going to start. It's crazy because that actually applies to internal combustion a lot more than it does to EVs. EV prices, which have been declining, customers say remain a big hurdle, or Americans say. The average cost for a new EV in February was $52,300, says the media, down 13% from the year previous. But here's the thing. That's not the average cost. That's the average expenditure. That's the average people paid for an EV. That doesn't actually include the EV incentives they were getting. So even if that was the average price people paid for an EV, it's certainly not the average price now. I mean, look at Tesla's Model Y long range, right? That's the most popular Tesla vehicle, the most popular EV in America. It's $45,000, $37,500 with the tax credit. $37,500 is significantly lower than the average price for a gas vehicle, which was $50,000. Now, this is also misleading. The media are intending to mislead people by saying the average cost for an EV is $52,000. Now, it's not even remotely relevant. Even if that were the case, that would still bring that price down to $45,000 after the EV incentive is applied, meaning that would be significantly lower than the average amount of money spent on an internal combustion vehicle, which was actually $47,500 or $2,500, about $2,600 more than the average EV. In other words, the average money people are spending on EVs now is actually lower than the average spent on a gasoline-powered vehicle. Price was a particular concern among older adults, with 6 in 10 or 60% saying it's a major reason against buying an EV. Now, I would have thought that that would be a major reason for buying an EV. Not only are they a little bit cheaper now to buy, but to run them. The operating costs are vastly different. Now, speaking of Tesla, I might as well bring up Tesla because they're the most popular brand in America. You don't have to service your Tesla EV. I mean, most people have done very, very little over the course of hundreds of thousands of miles. Very minimal servicing is needed. No oil changes are needed. This should be a reason. Price should be a reason people are saying, actually, that's why I'm thinking about buying an EV. As the debate over EV adoption continues in America, it's clear that while there is interest of practical concerns and perception of financial considerations play significant roles in consumer decisions, this does prove the media's success at getting people to believe whatever they tell them. The road to widespread EV adoption will be longer and more complex than anticipated for that reason, really. A lot of people just lack the awareness and they've been pretty well brainwashed, is what I think. Not everyone sees EVs this way, though. Jose Valdez of San Antonio, owner of a Ford Mustang Mach-E, said people think they cost an arm and a leg, but once they experience an EV, they'll have a different mindset. He installed a home charger for $700 and enjoys the cost savings on gas and maintenance. And keep in mind as well, I mean, solar is being installed at a record rate in America on people's homes. So, millions of Americans who have solar, they should be going out and getting EVs straight away and charging them in the middle of the day and just saving themselves thousands of dollars every single year.